After her husband Henry Carter vanished without a trace, Amelia was left with nothing but a newborn daughter in her arms and a tsunami of unpaid debts crashing down on her. The house they once called home was stormed by ruthless debt collectors who shattered furniture and screamed threats. With nowhere safe to turn, Amelia took her baby, Charlotte, and fled under the cover of darkness. For the next 30 years, Amelia lived like a ghost, changing cities, sleeping in cheap motels, working brutal shifts just to survive. She cleaned houses by day, waited tables by night, and still found time to read bedtime stories to her little girl. Against all odds, she repaid every cent Henry had owed, alone. Not just that, she built a quiet, modest life. Charlotte blossomed into a smart, successful woman. Amelia finally felt she could exhale, dream about a peaceful retirement, maybe even surprise Charlotte with a new home as a gift. But just when she believed the nightmare was over, a single video shattered it all. The face of the man who abandoned her was smiling beside the very woman who once stole everything. And nestled between them, her daughter, calling another woman mom. Amelia had just finished preparing dinner when Charlotte, her daughter, came home late with her husband Caleb and their little girl Lily. The sound of laughter drifted through the hall. For a moment, Amelia felt warmth. Maybe tonight she could finally share the good news. Her long-held savings had matured. She planned to surprise Charlotte with a down payment for a new house. But fate had other plans. As she slipped into her slippers and headed toward the kitchen, Amelia's phone buzzed with a message from her old friend Margaret. "I saw them today. You deserve to know," it read. A video followed. Amelia's hands trembled as she tapped the screen. There they were. Henry, older, but unmistakably him, holding hands with Evelyn, the woman he once claimed was just a friend. And there, nestled between them, was Charlotte, her daughter, her flesh and blood, laughing, smiling, leaning into Evelyn's shoulder and calling her mom. The world went silent. Amelia's breath caught in her throat. The phone slipped from her hand and crashed to the floor. Her knees buckled, and for a brief second, she thought she might faint. How long? How long had Charlotte been hiding this? How could she embrace the man who destroyed them? How could she look at the woman who tore apart her mother's world and smile like nothing ever happened? Just then, Charlotte knocked softly on Amelia's door. "Mom? Lily's hungry. Could you make her something?" Amelia opened the door, face pale, voice steady but trembling. "Sure, sweetheart," she said softly. But when Charlotte stepped inside, she saw the phone on the floor. The video was still playing. Frozen on one frame, Charlotte leaning against Evelyn, eyes glowing with affection, whispering, "Mom." Amelia bent down, picked up the phone, and handed it to her daughter. "Care to explain this?" Her voice cut like ice. "And don't lie to me, Charlotte. That man, he's your father, isn't he?" Charlotte's face twisted in guilt, but her tone stayed eerily calm. "Yes, I've been in touch with him. It's been years, Mom. Whatever happened between you two, it doesn't concern me." Amelia couldn't believe her ears. The very daughter she'd sacrificed her youth for was now casually brushing off a lifetime of pain like it was an old newspaper. "You knew what he did to us," Amelia said through gritted teeth. "You lived through it." Charlotte's eyes grew colder. "He left because you were too emotional. He said you never let things go. He regrets what happened, and he's trying to make it right now." Amelia felt her heart break all over again. "So what am I now? A stranger? After everything I did for you?" Her daughter's voice was quiet, sharp. "You made your choices, Mom. just like I'm making mine. It was the moment Amelia realized her greatest betrayal hadn't come from Henry. It had come from the daughter she'd raised with every ounce of strength she had left. Amelia stared at Charlotte in stunned silence, her heart pounding like war drums in her chest. The woman standing before her wasn't the little girl she once held through nights of hunger, fear, and cold. No, this was someone else entirely. Then came the final blow. Charlotte's expression twisted. Her voice, once sweet and familiar, turned cold and cutting. You always explode like a crazy person when things don't go your way. Maybe that's why Dad left for 30 years. The words sliced deeper than any wound. Amelia's hand instinctively rose mid-air in a moment of rage, but she stopped herself just in time. Charlotte recoiled, her eyes wide with shock. You're going to hit me? Suddenly, little Lily darted into the room, fists clenched, tears in her eyes. You're a bad grandma. I hate you. You made Mommy cry. She hit Amelia's legs over and over, each blow small but cruel. Behind her, Caleb stood silently. No attempt to stop his daughter, no words to defend his mother-in-law. Amelia knelt to push Lily back gently, but the child tripped and fell to the floor with a dramatic wail. Charlotte shrieked, "How dare you push her?" She rushed to scoop Lily up, fury burning in her eyes. Dad was right. You're toxic. That's why he left. You ruined everything. Amelia couldn't speak. Her breath caught in her throat as Charlotte's words echoed over and over. Toxic. Hysterical. No wonder Dad left. She had spent decades enduring shame, threats, and loneliness to raise Charlotte into the woman she was now. And this was how she was repaid. Fighting to stay composed, Amelia whispered, "Give me your father's phone number." Charlotte stiffened. Why? You're not planning to go after him, are you? Amelia's tone turned steel. He vanished and left me to rot. I paid off his debts. Why shouldn't I ask for what's owed to me now? Charlotte scoffed. You chose to pay it. He didn't force you. A hollow laugh escaped Amelia's lips. I did it for you. And then in a final act of betrayal, Charlotte snarled, This is my house. If anyone's leaving, it's you. Amelia's heart sank. She had sold her own home to help Charlotte buy this one. Her savings, her retirement, all gone into building a future for a daughter who now saw her as disposable. Still shaking, Amelia walked to her room and began to pack. No one followed. No one stopped her. Just as she reached the front door, Charlotte called out softly, Mom! Amelia turned, a flicker of hope rising. Maybe, just maybe, but it shattered instantly. Don't go bothering Dad, okay? He doesn't need your drama. And with that, the door slammed behind her, not just on a house, but on a lifetime of sacrifice, swallowed by betrayal. The motel room was damp, dimly lit, and smelled faintly of mildew. But for Amelia, it was the only place in town that would accept $50 a night, exactly half of what she had left after leaving Charlotte's house. She sat on the edge of the creaky bed, staring blankly at the cracked ceiling. The echoes of Charlotte's voice still rang in her ears. You chose to pay it. You're the toxic one. He left because of you. Amelia had always believed that time softened pain, that one day her daughter would look back and understand. But now she saw the truth. Charlotte never wanted to understand. To her, Amelia was just a stepping stone. Sleep was impossible. When she finally drifted off, her dreams twisted into nightmares. Her younger self, clutching baby Charlotte, debt collectors pounding at the door, dishes shattered across the floor, her heart racing as she shielded her child with trembling arms. At dawn, she awoke in a cold sweat. She sat quietly, then opened her banking app. A notification blinked at her. A monthly auto transfer for Charlotte's mortgage, set years ago out of habit and obligation. Amelia stared at it for a long moment. Then, without a word, she deleted it. And just like that, something shifted inside her. She wasn't the same woman anymore. She wasn't going to pour herself into a daughter who couldn't care less if she lived or died. She went out and bought herself a new phone, her first in nearly a decade. The sales clerk smiled kindly and asked if she wanted help transferring her data. "No need," Amelia said softly. "I'm starting fresh." Then she did something even bolder. She called a real estate agent. She wanted to find a furnished apartment. Nothing fancy, just hers. A space untouched by betrayal. The next day, as fate would have it, Amelia arrived at a beautiful modern condo complex for a showing, only to find Henry and Evelyn walking out of the very same unit with the agent. The air thickened. Evelyn clung to Henry's arm, still radiating the same smug charm she had 30 years ago. "This place is perfect for us," she cooed, brushing her manicured hand across Henry's chest. Amelia stepped forward, voice icy. "Is that so? Since when can debt-ridden cowards afford luxury apartments?" Evelyn narrowed her eyes. "Let go of the past, Amelia. Move on. He's my husband now." Amelia smiled coldly. "Husband? Sweetheart, I never signed the divorce papers, so legally you've been the mistress for 3 decades. Henry's face flushed. "I'm here now, Amelia. I want to finalize the divorce." Amelia nodded slowly. "Good. Then once you repay the 30 years of debt I shouldered for you, we can talk." That day, she didn't just reclaim her power. She reclaimed her identity. She was no longer a woman abandoned, no longer a shadow of her past. She was Amelia Carter, and her life belonged to her now. The condo was modern, elegant, and flooded with sunlight, a world away from the damp motel and decades of darkness Amelia had lived through. And it was hers. She didn't flinch at the price. In fact, she paid in full. Years of smart, silent investments had grown behind the scenes, unnoticed even by Charlotte. Amelia had never flaunted her success. Why would she? Her sacrifices weren't made for applause. But this moment was for her. She signed the papers with a steady hand as the real estate agent watched with wide-eyed awe. "Congratulations, Miss Carter," he said. "You made a powerful choice." Before Amelia could even thank him, Henry and Evelyn stormed into the room. Charlotte trailed close behind, her eyes darting around in disbelief. "Mom, what are you doing here?" Charlotte snapped. "You're not seriously buying this place. Dad already made an offer." Amelia didn't even look at her. She simply handed her bank card to the agent. "Let's close the deal. I'm tired of wasting time on people who don't matter." Charlotte's jaw dropped. Evelyn let out a mocking laugh. "You always loved pretending to be strong. Still trying to win after all these years, Amelia?" Amelia turned toward her, her voice low and sharp. "Win? You think I'm here to compete? No, Evelyn. I already won when I walked away from all of you." Then came the final twist of fate. Henry stepped forward, waving a check. "Here, 1 million. Take it. Let's finalize this divorce and be done with each other." Amelia accepted the check without blinking. "This isn't a favor. It's long overdue repayment. Don't think for a second that it erases what you did." Charlotte's expression changed in an instant when she saw the amount. Her silence screamed of calculation. Amelia knew her daughter too well. "You're thinking about how much of this you can get your hands on, aren't you?" Amelia said softly, looking her straight in the eye. "Don't bother. Not a single cent is coming your way." The room fell quiet. Then, with a grace that came not from wealth, but from a lifetime of endurance, Amelia turned to the agent. "Please kindly ask these people to leave. They're no longer part of my life." As Henry, Evelyn, and Charlotte were escorted out, Amelia remained still, head high, spine straight. She didn't cry. She didn't gloat. She simply breathed. In that breath was freedom. In that silence was power. Amelia was no longer a woman left behind. She was a woman moving forward. And in that condo, with the door finally closed behind her, she smiled. Not out of revenge, but because, for the first time in her life, she had chosen herself. Amelia's new home slowly came to life, one room at a time. She arranged fresh flowers by the windowsill, unpacked her modest wardrobe, and filled the shelves with books she never had time to read while working triple shifts. The silence of the condo wasn't lonely. It was peaceful. It was hers. One evening, as she sipped tea by the balcony, the city glowing below, she thought about everything that had led her here. She remembered cradling baby Charlotte, starving herself to buy formula, working until her fingers cracked and bled, never once imagining her child would someday turn on her. But even in pain, she had grown. Amelia had learned that love without respect is servitude, that sacrifice without gratitude becomes fuel for resentment. She'd spent her entire life putting others first. Roger, Charlotte, even little Lily. But now she put herself first. She wrote a will, not out of spite, but of clarity. Everything she owned would go to charity, to fund education for children like the one she once was. Alone, frightened, forgotten. Kids who deserved a chance, not those who treated love like currency. A month after moving in, Charlotte appeared again, bags in hand, Lily at her side. Her smile was false, but her eyes were calculating. "Mom, we've been evicted. Things went south, but we can live with you now, right?" Amelia didn't open the door. Instead, she calmly called the building manager. "There are trespassers outside my unit. Please make sure they're removed and banned." That night, she slept better than she had in decades. Weeks passed. Letters began arriving, handwritten, from Charlotte. They weren't asking for money, not this time. They were honest, regretful, thoughtful. "I'm sorry, Mom. I didn't understand how hard it must have been. You didn't deserve any of it." Amelia read everyone. Some brought tears, others a bitter smile, but she never replied. Forgiveness, she realized, didn't have to mean reconciliation. She could let go of the hate without reopening the wound. She returned to the things she loved: painting, walking at sunrise, planting roses on her patio, taking weekend classes, even traveling, something she never dared do before. For the first time in nearly 60 years, Amelia wasn't a mother, a wife, a widow, or a caretaker. She was simply Amelia. She smiled more, laughed louder, dressed up just because she wanted to. Yes, she had scars, but they no longer controlled her story. She chose healing. She chose joy. And in doing so, she became something extraordinary. Not a woman defined by her past, but a woman reborn in her future. Amelia stood in front of her mirror, adjusting a silk scarf around her neck. Her silver-streaked hair framed her face, and for the first time in decades, she didn't flinch at her own reflection. The lines, the age, the wear, they weren't flaws. They were proof. Proof that she had endured. She had spent most of her life being erased, overlooked, or taken for granted. Now every day felt like a quiet act of rebellion. She no longer needed validation from a husband who vanished when life got hard. Nor did she need affection from a daughter who only saw her as a wallet with wrinkles. She was no longer driven by survival. She was driven by choice. On weekends, she painted at the local art studio, soft landscapes, still lifes, and one portrait of a woman standing tall in the rain, umbrella broken but head held high. The instructor called it grief in color. Amelia called it healing. Neighbors greeted her with warmth. The staff at the cafe knew her usual order. She laughed with strangers on walking tours and danced in her kitchen when her favorite songs played. The past didn't disappear, but it stopped chasing her. One evening, as she sat watching the sun set across the horizon from her balcony, a memory flashed. Her younger self, exhausted and broken, cradling Charlotte in a dark apartment with no heat, whispering lullabies through tears. That woman had believed her love would be enough. And though it hadn't been returned the way she hoped, Amelia had no regrets. She had loved fully. And now she was living fully. She often thought about Lily, the granddaughter she once rocked to sleep. Amelia didn't miss the chaos, but she did miss the innocence. That's why, quietly, she set up a college fund in Lily's name. She'd never tell her, not now, maybe not ever. But when Lily turned 18, the fund would unlock. A quiet gift from a grandmother the world tried to erase, but who refused to disappear. One afternoon, she received a small package in the mail. Inside was a worn photo of Amelia and baby Charlotte, taken long ago in better days. Tucked behind it was a note. "I don't expect you to forgive me. I just hope one day you'll remember the mother I used to love, and maybe even see that I'm trying to be that kind of woman for Lily now." Charlotte Amelia read it slowly, folded it, and placed it in a drawer. Forgiveness wasn't about going back. It was about setting herself free. She stepped outside into the golden light, took a deep breath, and whispered to no one in particular, "I'm still here. I'm still standing, and I finally know what peace feels like." Amelia's story teaches us a painful but liberating truth. Not every bond is meant to last, and not every person we love will love us the way we deserve. We are taught that blood is thicker than water, that family must always be forgiven. But sometimes the people who hurt us most are the ones closest to us. Forgiveness does not mean tolerating abuse. Letting go does not mean forgetting. And love, true love, requires respect, not sacrifice without limits. Amelia gave her youth, her strength, her future to people who never saw her worth. But when she finally chose herself, she didn't just survive, she flourished. This story is a reminder. It is never too late to reclaim your dignity, to start over, and to live for you. Your value is not defined by those who abandoned or mistreated you. You define it through your choices, your peace, your self-respect. If you're someone who has spent years giving without receiving, sacrificing without thanks, this story is your wake-up call. Whether it's a toxic relationship, an ungrateful child, or a manipulative partner, you are allowed to walk away. Start small, cancel that automatic transfer. Say no without guilt. Save something for yourself, not just money, but energy, dreams, joy. Seek therapy, rebuild community, take that trip, enroll in that class. Life isn't over just because someone else walked away. In fact, that might be the very moment it begins. And if you've been hurt by family, you are not alone. Many carry invisible scars from those they trusted most. But healing is possible when you stop chasing closure from those who never gave you respect. Choose yourself. You've earned it. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this, please like and share with your friends. Your support keeps these stories alive. Don't forget to subscribe so you never miss a new episode. And if today's story touched your heart, leave a comment. I'd love to hear from you. Take care, stay well, and see you in the next story.